June 22nd, 1941, and German Army Group North is poised to strike deep into the Soviet Union. At 3:15 in the morning, German aircraft began bombing Soviet airfields all over Lithuania and Latvia. At roughly 4 a.m., while the Soviet Air Force was under heavy German air assault, German artillery started opening up on Soviet border formations. At approximately 5 a.m., German Panzer tanks started their engines and started moving into the Soviet Union, followed quickly by German infantry units. Operation Barbarossa had begun. As you can see on the map, the date is in the top left-hand corner, and we have the map legend in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. As German units cross the frontier, the 291st makes the biggest gains that first day, pushing to the outskirts of the city of Liepaja. The main thrust in this sector comes from the 21st, 1st, and 11th Infantry Divisions in the 1st Corps, push the Soviet 90th, 125th, and 10th Rifle Divisions up to 30 kilometers from their initial positions. Now let's transition to the 4th Panzer Group sector. The 4th Panzer was very quick out of the gate, especially the 8th Panzer Division, which found multiple gaps in the Soviet border defenses, and by nightfall they had penetrated over 70 kilometers and put up multiple bridgeheads across the Dvina. Let's transition to the 16th Army sector. On that first day, the 16th Army pushed back the 5th, 33rd, 188th, and 128th Rifle Divisions and approached the city of Kaunas. In the early morning hours of the 23rd of June, the front commander Kuznetsov ordered the 12th and 3rd Mechanized Corps to attack the German spearheads. The 12th Mechanized Corps moved south, but instead of engaging the Panzer spearheads, engaged the 18th Army, specifically the 1st, 11th, and 21st Infantry Divisions. While this was occurring, the 291st was engaging the 67th in the city of Liepaja and pushing them out of the city. The Soviet 12th Mechanized Corps was engaging the 18th Army. The 3rd Mechanized Corps was starting to engage the German spearheads. German 6th Panzer Division and the Soviet 2nd Tank Division engaged each other in heavy tank-on-tank combat around the city of Rasani. The 8th Panzer was speeding towards the Dvina River and trying to throw up a bridgehead across the Dvina for follow-up forces. The 16th Army continues its general eastward advance, capturing Kaunas on the 24th of June. By this point, the Soviet forces were heavily disorganized and had suffered extreme losses in the first days of battle. On the eve of the 25th, Kuznetsov ordered a general retreat to the city of Riga. The 8th Army that opposed the Germans then began a full-scale retreat to Riga and the Dvina River line. After several days of heavy tank-on-tank combat around the village of Rasani, the 1st Panzer and the 290th Infantry Division encircled the 2nd Tank and the 48th Rifle Division. Ahead of the ongoing combat around Rasani, the 8th Panzer reaches the Dvina on the morning of the 26th of June, and through a sort of coup with the assistance of combat engineers and a company of Brandenburgers, they're able to capture the rail and road bridge fully intact and are able to establish themselves on the other side of the Dvina. On the night of the 25th, Kuznetsov, the front commander, ordered the 11th Army to retreat eastwards. The 11th Army was in a bit of a precarious situation, as they were under constant engagement from the west and the 16th Army coming straight at them, and to their south was the 3rd Panzer Army from Army Group Center that was engaging them as well. So they were forced to fall back in a more northeasterly direction than they originally wanted. The 8th Army was now in full retreat to the Dvina River line, and they were able to break contact with the pursuing 18th Army in some places. Several Soviet units are still trapped in their pocket. By the end of the 27th of June, the 48th Rifle Division had managed to escape through a narrow gap to the northeast. By the end of the 28th of June, the 48th Rifle was able to rejoin Soviet lines. The German 8th Panzer encountered a new enemy in its bridgehead across the Dvina, the 21st Mechanized Corps with the 46th and 42nd Tank Divisions, and the 185th Motorized Rifle Division was now blocking its way deeper into the Soviet Union. By the 27th of June, the 11th Army was in full retreat to the Dvina River, and the German 16th Army was doing its best to catch up with the panzers of the 4th Panzer Group. The Soviet 8th Army was in full retreat to the Dvina River line, with the 61st and 217th approaching the city of Riga itself and starting to engage the Soviet forces in the suburbs of that city. By the end of the 30th of June, most Soviet forces had crossed the Dvina River and had taken up their defensive positions to stop the Germans from further advancing into the Soviet Union. The Soviet 21st Mechanized Corps tried its best to dislodge the 8th Panzer Division from its bridgehead. Late on the 29th of June, the 3rd Motorized and then the SS Totenkopf Division crossed the Dvina, assisted the 8th Panzer Division in holding and then expanding on the bridgehead. Late on the 29th of June, the 1st Panzer and the 6th Panzer both established two separate bridgeheads across the Dvina. The Soviet position was looking more and more untenable on the other side of the Dvina, with 3 Panzer, 2 motorized infantry divisions, and 1 infantry division across the river. It was only a matter of time before they further broke through the Soviet lines. By the 30th of June, most of the Soviet 11th Army had already crossed the Dvina River. The German 16th Army was doing its best to catch up with the panzers of the 4th Panzer Group. Now for the final day, July 1st, let's zoom out and see the entire battle space of the northern sector. As you can see from the zoomed out map, the German forces in the northern sector had crossed the Dvina River in multiple locations. On this day, the 61st Infantry Division captured the city of Riga, and the 4th Panzer Group consolidated its positions across the Dvina River, while the 16th Army was catching up to the 4th Panzer Group.